Hi, welcome back to the Power BI Custom Visuals course, and in this module we're going to be looking at the user list by CloudScope. Now this visual is really designed to show a list of users that are kind of presented in the format of Twitter. You can actually see on the right hand side there's two different ways you can show it. You can either show it in the compact view or the expanded view to be able to see more or less information about the data that you're storing. Now it's really formatted for Twitter, but you don't necessarily have to have Twitter data in it. You can pull any kind of data you want and still be able to present it in this format if you desire to make it look like it came from Twitter. Now, the user list by CloudScope does not actually help you connect to any Twitter data, so you are still reliant on having to go find how to get that data in some way. But that's something you should be aware of as you get into this. It will present data that's inside of your data model. It will not go find any Twitter data for you. It's purely a visual. All right, so this one, again, is developed by CloudScope. Let's go ahead and walk you through how to use the user list by CloudScope in this quick demonstration. Okay, so for this example, we're going to start by going to pull in some data from an Excel file that I have that has Twitter profile information. So again, you don't have to use Twitter data for this, but I went ahead and did that because it follows the theme of the visual anyways. So we're going to go up to the top here and select Get Data, and I'm going to be pulling in some data from Excel, and it's going to be the Twitter profiles data that I have here. And we're going to be using the spreadsheet inside of this workbook called Twitter Users. So I'll go ahead and select that. And you can see the kind of information that I'm pulling in. I'm pulling in the profile image URL, the background image URL, the number of tweets the user has, whether or not they're verified, which I do have a few verified ones in here, the number of followers they have, any link they have on their profile, their bio, their screen name, and their regular name that they've entered into Twitter. Now this data, I'm going to go ahead and hit load. This data is coming from a search that I did for Twitter information. We're going to be looking at, in this case, data that's about the Jacksonville Jaguars. So yeah, as you may or may not know, I'm from the city of Jacksonville, and I love my pitiful Jaguars. They actually happen to be good at the moment. And so I want to be able to see the users that happen to be tweeting about the Jaguars. All right, so for this one, though, what we're going to do is we're going to go up to the marketplace, of course, like we always do. And we're going to bring in the custom visual, the user list custom visual. So I'm going to go ahead and search for user list here. And we should see the user list by CloudScope up here. And we can go ahead and select add. And that will bring in the new custom visual where we can actually see a list of our users. So I'll go ahead and select this visual. And I'm going to go ahead and bring in all of the fields that I have. So I'm just going to go ahead and check them all off like so. And a couple things that you may want to do, you may want to resort these depending on how they're going to show. You'll kind of see why you might want to resort these here in a few moments. And then the other thing that I'm going to do is I have a link that's available on users' profiles. I want to make sure that link is brought through as a web URL and not just text. So to change the link to actually bring it in as a link, you'll select the link property or the link field. You'll go up to the modeling ribbon up at the very top. And then underneath the data categories section here, you're going to change it from uncategorized to web URL. So if I select web URL here, then now Power BI will recognize this as a link, and people can actually click on it and it take them to the profile of the user that we have selected. Now you'll notice by default, we actually don't see any information come back on this particular visual. That's because we actually need to go into the properties underneath the format paintbrush here and go underneath the column mapping so that we can map the columns that are inside of our data set to the properties that are inside of this particular visual. So to do that, we'll need to select each one. You can see this is our background image URL. We'll need to make sure that this is brought through as the background picture. You can tell that you want the bio to come through as the description. The number of followers should come through as data in this case. I'll explain what that is here in a few moments. You can actually already see it on the screen. The link is going to come through as data as well. The name is going to come through as name, so there is a name property in here. The profile image is going to come through as the profile picture. The screen name is going to come through as screen name. And then the tweets will come through as data. And verified, there's actually a verified property in here as well. So you'll select verified. Notice whenever I do this, if they are verified, a little check icon will appear next to their name. In this case, all the ones I see up top here are not verified, but we will see some that are verified here in a few moments. All right, now I mentioned a few moments ago, let's actually go ahead and sort this visual here. You can go up to the top right of the visual underneath more options, and I can tell it that I want to sort it by number of followers, for example. And I can see those that have the most followers up at the top, which also happen to be my two that are verified in this data set. One of them is the newspaper for Jacksonville, and then one of them is kind of the fan site for Jacksonville. Now you can see here that the link actually shows up where you can click on the link and it looks like a little link icon here. you actually can control that. You have the ability to control the link, whether or not it shows the text underneath the display section here on the right-hand side. If you click the show link icon, that'll flip it back and forth between an actual link and the text, and you can kind of choose which way you would prefer to see that. You can also change whether or not it is displayed in a compact view. So you'll see there's an option here where you can turn on or off compact. If you turn it off, you'll actually see a much larger view, which includes the background that you might have had. If they had any background image on the profile, you would see those here. And you can see the background image that I have on the Florida Times-Union here, for example. This is much more of a way you would typically see it if you're viewing Twitter from your phone and you're looking at a profile, you would see it like this. In this case, I may also want to do things like maybe turn off the title, or maybe at the very least rename my title. So I might change my title here to Twitter followers. And you can center that. You can do all kinds of stuff with a text, of course, but that's really up to you, however you want to be able to visualize that. All right, so that's pretty much it. The only other thing that I'll mention as far as that you might want to do to shift things around is as you're looking at this visual and as you're interacting with it, you may want to, especially when you're looking at this from the compact view that we had here a moment ago, you may want to adjust the sort order of some of these fields. So you can see here the follower shows first, the link comes next, then tweets. I may want to adjust the order of those, and you can do that by going back over to the field list. And from the field list, I can move, for example, if I want link to be after tweets, I can shift that around so I can change the sort order of that. And that will appear both on the compact view as well as the more traditional view that we had a moment ago. So you can kind of flip back and forth, and you can see the link now shows up at the end here as well. The only other thing that's worth noting here is underneath the format section, you'll see underneath the formatting properties, there are tons of properties that you can change in regards to the text size. So if you want to adjust any of the text size, I happen to think it looks fine right now, but if you want to adjust the text size or the text color, you can come under the format settings section and you can adjust that. You can increase the text size some if you wanted to, so that way it's a little clearer for your users. So that's up to you whether or not you want to do that, but that's where you can find it. You can come over here underneath the format section and the formatting settings, and you can bump up the text size here a little bit if you'd like. All right. So that's really it for this one. It's a pretty straightforward visual. The nice thing is it's simple to interact with. The key thing is going to be getting that data, because that data is not something that the visual provides, so you have to be able to go find a method for pulling in Twitter data. And if you do some quick Google or Bing searches, there are definitely methods of doing that with inside of Power BI or even externally from Power BI, and then viewing or visualizing that data within this visual you have now seen how to do. Hope you guys enjoyed this visual and look forward to showing you our next visual in our next module. Thanks a lot.